This is your girl Jodi with Whispers ASMR. Tonight we are going to talk about different things that could happen to any of us at any time. Scary, creepy, spooky things, unbelievable things, diseases, things about sleep paralysis, and facts about sleeping that will terrify you. So welcome to my channel if this is your first time, and welcome back. I appreciate each and every one of you, and if you would not mind taking a moment to hit the subscribe button, in your right hand corner, I would really appreciate it. It helps the channel grow, and YouTube put my videos in the limelight, I guess you would say. The more you like it, and a thumbs up if you like this kind of whispered spooky content. So just FYI, if you do not know, I have been doing my resin, which I do every day, but I've actually been filming it. And the funny thing is, today I filmed a resin pour that I was so excited about, and it totally flopped. I think because I just was not feeling it. I don't know. But if you're ready to get spooked about so many different things that could affect you at any moment, and relax. You are safe here. You're welcome, and you are loved. So I hope you all are having a wonderful morning, afternoon, or evening, wherever you are in this world, and I hope you all are safe. So just take a deep breath, forget about all the crazy, horrific things happening out there, and focus on yourself for just a little while. Let my voice help you go to sleep. So first, we're going to talk about a very scary disease that I did not know was this horrific. Key facts about rabies. This is probably the most scary disease not scariest, but it's a terrible death, and you don't know you have it until really it's too late. But it is preventable. A vaccine is out there, which I'm sure we all have heard of. But it occurs in more than 150 countries. And 50 countries has this affliction. And it causes tens of thousands of deaths each year, mainly in Asia and Africa. 40% of whom are children under 15 years old. And I was kind of surprised to know that dogs were the main source of human rabies deaths, contributing to 99% of all rabies transmissions to humans. Rabies can be prevented through vaccination of dogs and prevention of dog bites. But after exposure of people to a potentially rabid animal, they should seek post-exposure prophylaxis, or PEP, excessive, immediate, thorough wound washing. Global rabies causes an estimated cost of US dollars of 8.6 billion per year. That is billion, my friends. One Health approach assures the engagement of multiple sectors and local communities and conduct mass dog vaccinations. So, what is rabies anyway? Well, it is a vaccine-preventable zoonotic viral disease, and it affects the central nervous system. Once clinical symptoms appear, rabies is virtually 100% fatal in 99% of cases. Domestic dogs are the ones that give us the virus, but it can also be spread through wild animals as well, and it spreads to people and animals through saliva, usually through bites, scratches, or direct contact with mucosa, eyes, mouth, or open wounds. So, the only continent that doesn't have it is Antarctica. But what happens to a person when they have diagnosable symptoms? So an incubation period is typically 2 to 3 months. So you have no signs for that long. But it may vary from 1 week to even as long as a year, depending on factors such as the location of where the virus entered the body, how much of the virus was inducted into your body, and the initial symptoms. Even generic simple signs like fever, pain, and unusual or unexplained tingling, prickling, or burning sensations at the wound site. If you get bit by a dog or wild animal, go immediately to your doctor. As the virus moves to the central nervous system, progressive and fatal inflammation of the brain and spinal cord develop. Clinical rabies in people can be managed, but very rarely cured, not without severe neurological deficits. I did not know the next thing, that there are two forms of rabies. There are furious rabies resulting in hyperactivity, excitable behavior, hallucinations, lack of coordination, hydrophobia, the fear of water, and aerophobia, the fear of drafts or of fresh air. Death occurs only a week or a few days to cardiorespiratory arrest. So you will die of a heart attack. And the worst thing is, just before you're about to pass, you get so thirsty, but you cannot drink water no matter what you do. Paralytic rabies is the 20% in human cases. This form of rabies runs a less dramatic and usually longer course than the furious form. However, would you want it to be longer and more miserable? Muscles gradually become paralyzed, starting from the scary. I just can't imagine being infected with this and going through the pain that a person would go through before they would perish, and knowing that no matter what the doctor does, you will die. Our own sleep. Well, when we crawl under our covers and we snuggle up at night, our body and brain actually goes to work. So we're like a computer in a way. We're rebooting ourselves. Most of the good things happen when you've reached a deep sleep. So it is so important that you get 7 to 9 full hours for most adults. So at the most restorative sleep phase, the best sleep phase, our body's blood pressure drops, our muscles relax, our blood supply to muscles increases, tissue is grown and repaired, energy is restored, and hormones are released. Impressed with what your body can do yet? However, a study from the Center for Disease Control and Prevention says 1/3 of American adults are not getting enough sleep on a regular basis. So what is the problem? I mean, are we all sleep deprived constantly? What will it do to us? Well, not sleeping for 7 to 9 hours leads to so many health problems. So get the sleep you need, because one, you are gaining inches around your tummy. So getting enough sleep can translate into losing some extra pounds. It is found that people who sleep on average of 6 hours a night at a waist measurement that was 3 centimeters greater than those who are logging 9 hours a night. Here's where things get kind of interesting, I guess. The correlation was not found between shortened sleep and less healthy diet. That is very surprising, since most previous studies found that less sleep can lead to poor dietary choices. The takeaway suggests poor sleep alone could be a culprit of weight gain. So it is not your diet that needs the restructuring. It is how many hours you're sleeping that does. So when you don't sleep, number 2, you lower your good cholesterol. And that's right. The HDL, aka the good cholesterol, helps remove fat from circulation. And having a high HDL cholesterol level can protect against heart disease. So what happens on the other end if you have a lower HDL level? Then you will have more or greater chances of getting heart disease, have more fat in your blood. Number 3, you greatly increase your risk for diabetes and heart disease. Well, internal body clock increases your risk Number 5, you actually get dumber. And I don't mean that to be rude, but you have a harder time problem solving. So this is the immediate consequences of sleep. Sleep deficiency. It affects your brain function, making you less alert, impairing your memory, and even diminishing your problem-solving skills. And number 6 has always been very evident for me is that you crave sweets or junk food. Has anybody else ever noticed that when you don't get enough sleep and you feel tired, you just don't feel like eating healthy food? And on an average, 385 more calories were consumed per day by somebody who did not get enough sleep than somebody who did. Number 7, your reaction time. Have you ever seen those signs on the side of the road that tired driving is drunk driving or impaired driving? Well, it's basically the same thing. So when you're operating a deadly piece of machinery, your reaction time could mean your death. Number 8, you could become more impatient. I am definitely one of those people. When I'm tired, I am cranky, and I cannot tolerate stress as well. Number 9, you become Evel Knievel even if you don't know it. That's right, you take greater risks. So people, how did they figure this out? Well, there was a study done where people were asked twice a day to choose between obtaining a specified amount of money paid out with a probability or playing it safe but with a lower amount of money paid out for sure. The people running on 5 hours of sleep were more likely to make the riskier decision. The higher possible prize, but possibility getting nothing at all. According to the researchers at the University of Zurich and the hospital in Zurich, researchers believe that when we do not get enough sleep, quote, it affects the right prefrontal cortex and is correlated with increased risk-seeking behavior. Risk-seeking behavior, so I want you to take a deep breath and just fall asleep. Number 10. You'll find yourself more anxious, and that leads to many other psychological anxiety problems. Number 11. Negative Nelly. You have a harder time shaking negative thoughts. I believe that. Inadequate sleep has been shown that is part of what makes negative thoughts stick around and interfere with our lives. Number 12. And this is decision making all over again. You have a harder time making decisions, like your cognitive abilities are more likely to be impaired or affected negatively. It affects everything from the simplest decisions, like being able to effectively manage your daily schedule. Pulling an all-nighter, not getting any sleep causes people's brains to lose efficiency. So Texas A&M College of Medicine, which is a very good college, explains. So if you're staying up all night and aren't getting a recommended amount of sleep, your brain gets weary very slow muscle growth. So if you are trying to work out and gain muscle, your body will only grow muscle at night. 15, you age prematurely. Collagen breaks down because the body releases cortisol. So, cortisol can actually add on body fat around the waist as well. So, you got to get that shut eye. And this is where I think the two come together. Without the sleep, your body will put on metal fat because it releases cortisol, which also makes your skin wrinkle faster and more crepey and sag. 16, you might feel a little bit chillier. So sleep is important for your body to temperature regulate. So when you don't sleep, well, now that we know what not sleeping does to us physically, what can sleep paralysis actually be doing to us when we're in a bit of it? Right? I mean, have you ever had sleep paralysis? It is quite possibly the most terrifying experience you'll ever have. I mean, having a nightmare is horrific, but when you cannot get out of your sleep, it is beyond horrific. So there was a study done, psychology paper. 8% of people experience sleep paralysis. The number rises to 28% in high-risk groups, which are people who have general disrupted sleep patterns, and again rises in up to 34% in those who suffer from psychological disorders such as anxiety and depression. It appears usually in one's teenage years, but is often seen in the 20s, 30s, and on. May also run in the family. So it is not a serious health risk and can be a scary phenomenon. But what about when sleep paralysis occurs before a person's REM cycle is finished? During your REM cycle or rapid eye movement cycle, the brain has vivid dreams when one's muscles are unable to move. Why is this? Well, it is so that the person will not be able to act out their dreams with their arms and legs. However, during sleep paralysis, the person wakes up before the REM cycle is even finished. This causes the individual to awaken. Their body is not able to move. Their muscles have not been given the okay from their brain to do so. Can you imagine that some people feel like they're being joked or there's a tightness in their chest? It is unfortunately very common when you're feeling immobilized to feel this. No matter how much you try to move, you can't seem to get past that heavy feeling like something is weighting you down. It is another feeling when people feel helpless and threatened. You want to call for this is also correlated with the feeling of being choked because not enough air may be getting through to you. Now that is freaking terrifying. I mean, that's terrifying that not enough air is able to reach me. Another thing is that people may hallucinate during sleep paralysis. It is a boundary between dreaming and the awake, the two separate worlds. When people experience sleep paralysis, their dreams may become even more vivid than usual. Before sleep paralysis was discovered by scientists, people of the past, our ancestors have associated their hallucinations with experiencing visits from the demons or evil figures. Well, I don't know about you, but you may see something evil, but you can't tell me it is all just from our bodies and sleeping. I mean, there are evil energies in this world. So my uncle has narcolepsy, and narcolepsy is when you fall asleep doing whatever you do during the day. He was a farmer when he worked. He is now retired. And my aunt was looking out the kitchen window, and here this enormous tractor is cutting across all of their acres of corn, just slicing across it in a diagonal way. She runs out and screams for her son to get the tractor, that his father is asleep or passed out. They thought he had a heart attack. So sleep paralysis may be linked to narcolepsy. So apparently sleep paralysis has been found to be experienced many times by people with narcolepsy. People who are narcoleptic, and I did not know this, have a loss or damage of the brain chemical called hypocretin. Helps the body stay alert and regulates the sleep-wake cycle. Narcoleptic individuals often experience this disruptive sleep patterns influencing sleep paralysis. So when you are sleep deprived or have an irregular sleep schedule, you are prone to trigger sleep paralysis. I don't know if I believe this because when I had it as a young child, yes, young child, every night until I was 15, you can't tell me that it was because I was sleep deprived, because I was very, very controlled with my sleeping. Even when I would go to my friend's house, I would always make sure to go to bed early. So, and I wasn't taking alcohol, nicotine, or drugs. There you go, I don't believe that. I think sometimes scientists try to find an answer that fits, that they can plug in. And of course, stress and anxiety may influence sleep paralysis, of course. I mean, same thing. Well, have you ever wondered exactly what sleep position you should be in? Well, it says, or at least this article tells us, that sleeping on your back causes frequent episodes of sleeping on your side or stomach might help you be more comfortable. But remember, if you sleep on your tummy, you have unique requirements. You need to use a pillow either under your tummy or and your neck has to be controlled so it doesn't affect you. And of course, this one, stay calm. Yes, stay calm and collected during sleep paralysis because it is not terrifying. Okay. But staying calm will help you feel less attacked as you learn to rationalize it rather than fearing it. I don't know about you, but if you have gone through the state of paralysis I have gone through for so many years, I could never feel relaxed. The things I saw, and it wasn't for just a few minutes, and I could move. It was horrific. I can't even think about it. And of course, if you are experiencing this, talk to your doctor. Always talk to your doctor because they know best. Please carry facts about anything and everything, pretty much. If you are a healthy 20-year-old, you have around 2,860 weeks before you die. The average person will be less successful than they think. How that's all depends on them. Never give up. About 153,000 people die on your birthday. If you took all of the world's spiders and let them out into the Netherlands, they would consume the country's population in three days. 1 in 50 of us are walking around right now with a brain aneurysm. It just has not ruptured yet. So, I did even a true crime on this guy. The serial killer from Colombia, Pedro Alonso Lopez. The monster of the Andes Mountains raped, murdered over 300 girls from Ecuador, Peru, and Colombia. He served 18 years in prison. He was put into a psychiatric hospital, which he was then re-reviewed, declared to be sane, and was not retried or put to death. No, he was set free in spite of his blatant vow to kill more people. Since his release in 1998, nobody knows where he is or what he's freaking doing. Oh my gosh. In 2012, scientists found 1,458 new species of bacteria living in your belly button. Our belly button's ecology is like a fingerprint. person suffering from cold heart syndrome believes they are dead. So there's a series of delusions that range from belief that you have lost your organs, your blood, or body parts, to insisting that one has lost one's soul or is completely dead, just walking around. If you're looking at a Victorian photo and one of the subjects in the photo is clearer than the rest, they are probably dead. An octopus is flexible enough to enter your mouth, navigate its way through your digestive system, and leave through your anus. Now that's flexibility. I wonder if the person would live. 60% of the UK population, and this is sad, feels like nobody loves them. If you are a single child and do not have kids, you'll break an unbroken line of children that has gone on for tens of millions of years. Oh, that's crazy. Oh, I didn't even think about that. Are you not scared yet? Well, I am pretty afraid. It makes me not want to go to sleep. It makes me not want to eat. And it definitely makes me want to clean my belly button a lot more and find out where it's been when I have not been there. How is that possible, right? People in ancient Rome believed drinking fresh blood cured epilepsy. You can get chlamydia from a koala bear. I wonder how that happens. A man by the name of Alan Snorri murdered a hospital worker, Teresita Baza, in 1977 in Chicago. The case was deep and the police could not link the crime to any suspects until a worker from the same hospital named Remy Juan provided unknown details of the murder, reported seeing Alan's face behind that of Baza's in her own dreams, even heard her voice in her head. Now this lady was not present in the crime scene and was not even friends with Snorri. But this man eventually confessed to the murder and served five years. That's terrible. A human head remained conscious for 20 seconds after being decapitated. That is a long ass time. Some people often decide to take medication to cope with their feelings. However, there are some types of antidepressants which completely eliminate your ability to feel love and compassion. You know, years ago I was a beer flood in London, and 123,323,000 gallons of beer were released. As a result, 8 people died. Fir trees can actually grow in your lungs. Russian doctors removed a 2-inch fir tree from a man's lungs. I think we had heard that before. Gustav has allegedly killed 300 people. He is a Nile crocodile. He is notorious for eating humans. Several attempts have been made to capture this human killer, but all have failed as a result. The last sighting of him was back in 2015 when he was dragging down a fully grown buffalo underwater. He is also apparently quote-unquote unkillable. He has been shot many times, has survived each time. There is a movie about him called Primeval. There was a form of torturous execution named the Brazen Bull. The convicted was to be put inside the metallic structure. Then the bull would be heated up until the criminal was cooked alive. Oh my God. This design managed to disgust a tyrant who often was brutal to his subjects, and therefore he put the creator of this device inside to scar him and then lock him in. He eventually took him out and chucked him off a cliff. The screams of the victim would be converted into the sounds of crying bull. Well, that's creepy. I mean, that's really terrible. It is a metal designed bull that houses a human, and then they heat up, and the person is cooked to death. At any time, one of the proteins in your brain can misfold and cause a prion disease. We don't know why. If you are HIV positive, you have unprotected sex with someone who is HIV positive, but has a different strain, you risk something called superinfection. This is when your original strain of HIV meets a new one and creates its own hyper-resistant strain to any HIV medications. Well, ducks become cannibals due to boredom. Of all the reasons, they can only be stopped by cutting off their mouths. What? Why would ducks become so bored that they become cannibals? That's terrible. Every unborn baby grows a mustache in the womb, which then spreads to cover the entire body. The baby then eats this fine hair called language has happened to them. Well, did you know during the filming of The Exorcist, multiple sets burned down, actors were mysteriously injured, and one of the actors, Jack McGowan, even died of influenza. Eventually, a priest was brought to bless the set. Well, that makes the movie even more terrifying. So in Switzerland, Santa has his own helper, Schmutzli, who beats children with a broom. The average high school student has the same level of anxiety as the average psychiatric patients in the early 1950s. Wow. That's incredible. Sudden death syndrome is actually a disease. Or a syndrome. It occurs during sleep, of course. Most sudden deaths are known as sudden arrhythmia death or sudden cardiac death, where a seemingly healthy individual experiences heart failure without any precedent or warning signs. Well, that's not gonna help our sleep, is it? A recent study, like in the last 2 years, found that 30% of mass killings are directly influenced by the media's coverage of such previous acts. I'm like, stop with the media coverage of so many horrible things and non-truths. One thing to know what's happening, there's another thing to embellish it and watch it over and over and over again. Since 1948, 90 commercial airliners have disappeared without any evidence as to what happened to them. 2 million tons of human waste is discharged into our water resources every single day. There are 18,600,000 vacant homes in the United States. Do you know what? That's enough for every homeless person to have 6 homes. I don't know what Batu Forest, most haunted forest in the world, located in Romania. Hundreds of people have gone missing. UFOs have been seen, orange red balls of light, miss women's voices, laughter, people being scratched. In the center of the forest lies a circle where plant life does not grow. This spot is believed to be a portal to another dimension. I do believe that. Do you know there is a jellyfish that is immortal? responsible for more deaths each year than sharks, snakes, scorpions, bees, spiders, alligator, canines, lions, tigers, and bears combined. The only animal more lethal on Earth is the hippo, but only if we consider the range of hippos versus the number of deaths. Deer still reign by numbers. Champagne corks, and I believe this, kill more people each year than spiders do globally. 40,000 times more prevalent than champagne corks are spiders. So spiders do not chew. They inject digestive fluids into their victims, which digest them inside their own bodies, and then they drink the liquefied result. For 1/3 of all Americans, the air is classified by the government as unsafe to breathe. The first anti-smoking campaign in history came from Adolf Hitler. More than 7,000 people per year die because of bad handwriting on the part of the doctor. An average cell phone has around 18 times more germs than the average toilet. Your desk at the office has 400 times more germs than the toilet. The weight of your mattress will double within 10 years from dust, mite, feces. Well, okay. Dead people can still get goosebumps. Most lipstick contain fish scales as an ingredient. It's what gives that beautiful glossy look. It also is a good moisturizer. Oreo cookies are psychologically as addictive as cocaine, heroin, and nicotine. What? Oh, that's crazy. That's crazy. 1 billion people in the world go to bed hungry tonight. If you try to suppress a sneeze, you could rupture a blood vessel in your head or neck and die. So let out that sneeze. There are 4 sunken nuclear submarines that sit at the bottom of the Atlantic Ocean. And did you know the electric car was invented by a dentist? I did not know that. That's crazy. I mean, that's by a dentist. Wow. Okay. January 15th, only to be killed by the tsunami. An 800-meter-long trail of destruction. There were rescue efforts, but that was obviously very difficult for anybody back in 1919 to venture into this sticky substance and help others without becoming stuck themselves. So most molasses was washed into the harbor using salt water. You know, it stained the Boston Harbor a deep brown for over half a year, and it has been reported that people dragged the molasses across the city, making everything unpleasantly sticky for weeks. Oh man, that was terrible. What? I'm gonna end tonight with the most interesting horror movie facts. Freaks was so terrifying it ended the career of the established director who made it. Peeping Tom also ended the career of the prestigious director who made it. The director was friends with Hitchcock, and the film was similar to Psycho, released the same year. Motivated Hitchcock to not screen Psycho for critics before releasing to the public. While filming Carrie, it took multiple days to film all the material where Carrie is covered in blood. For continuity reasons, the actress, Sissy Spacek, kept the blood on her all those days, refusing to get it removed at the end of each shouting, "Hey, I could not sleep like that." Alien Spoilers was originally going to end with the alien killing Ripley, then piloting the escape craft towards the end, towards the Earth. When this was changed to the current ending, the filmmakers needed motivation for the alien being weaker. So preventing it from killing Ripley, they came up with the idea that aliens have an extremely short life cycle, and the alien was near the end of it by this point in the film. But nothing in the film indicates this other than the skin, flesh, and color of the alien is more faded in the scene. Filming of The Shining was notorious for the number of takes Kubrick required, sometimes in the hundreds. One of these shots was the one where Wendy walks backwards up the stairs while